And we are live. Well, good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to Secrets of the Shadow Copy. This is the second in the Wild PCS Mobile Forensics Openness, Sharing, and Collaboration series. We are pleased to bring you this live free training event. Again, I'm overwhelmed at the response that we have had to the broadcast. We are really pleased that we're able to bring this to you, and really pleased that we're able to bring this particular presenter, who is a longtime expert in the field. And I also want to give a shout out to GetData for their generous bonus that we're having at the end of the broadcast. So a few housekeeping items to present to you prior to going to our presenter and our event. If you're not used to using Google Hangouts, we have a number of apps that you can. As you're watching the video, should be up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a little grid-looking object. If you're familiar with using Gmail, that is similar to that. You click on that little grid and it'll bring up two extra apps. One is the Showcase app and the other one is the Question and Answer app. The Showcase app, when you click on it, will bring up a sidebar on the right hand of your screen, and this will display a number of links to a variety of different things that we're talking about today, whether it's Forensic Explorer, it's classes that we offer, etc. So there'll be links onto the side of that Showcase. So again, if you're familiar with Gmail, you click on the little grid that's in the upper right of your screen, and it'll bring up two apps, one being the Showcase app and the other one being the Q&A app. The Showcase app looks like little cards attached to a tag. The other application that you see there is the Question and Answer app. Now this app is going to also bring up a sidebar on the right hand. This is where we'll take questions from you, the audience, and when you want to ask a question, type it into the Question and Answer app. It will then put the question to a queue, and there I will moderate that and ask questions. When I select your question, it will mark the video. So if you go back and watch the video at a later date, you'll be able to find out where those questions were asked. When I'm through with that, it will shut off and the question will disappear. Also, I will primarily be monitoring the Question and Answer application. So if you have problems hearing me, or there's a problem with the video or something like that, let me know in the Question and Answer app. Also, I want to apologize ahead of time. We seem to be having some issues with my internet, the host's internet here. Go Comcast. Those of you who have Comcast probably know what I'm talking about, but hopefully those won't happen. I just looked at my modem and it looks like it's okay right at the moment. So the Question and Answer app, I will primarily be monitoring that. If there are issues, please let me know in there, or if you have questions. So the format for today is going to be 45 minutes thereabouts of the presentation from our presenter, and then we'll take about 15 minutes for questions and answers. If you do have questions, do by all means during the broadcast pop them into the Question and Answer application, and if there's something that I can interrupt our presenter, I will do that. One other thing about the Question and Answer app that I didn't say, you can also +1 those, like in Google Plus. You can +1 those, vote those up, and if it's something that somebody's asked that you think is particularly relevant or you really want to hear about, I do recommend that you +1 that, and I will get to those first, as I see that they're the most popular ones. If you are watching from YouTube by any chance, you'll see on the lower right-hand corner of the video, this is Join the Conversation. If you click on that little overlay, it will take you to the Google Events page, in which case you can then start using the Question and Answer app. I'm also, for those of you who might have come in late, this is also streaming live off our website on the events page. Little mention about the giveaways that we have. Those are going to come at the end of the presentation, and I've got all the registrants, and we're going to be using a random number generator and pick the winners for those. Also, as was mentioned in our reminder email, we have a special bonus courtesy of GetData that we're going to be presenting, and you have to be online to see that bonus. It will only appear online. So with that having been said, I think I've covered everything I need to cover at the moment as introduction. So I'm going to now introduce our presenter. He's a good friend of mine. He's been around for a very long time. He's widely considered a premier expert in the field. That is Mr. John, who goes by Zeke Thackray, and he is the Global Lead Trainer for GetData, specializing in Forensic Explorer. He's currently now based in Los Angeles, though he hails from the United Kingdom and has also had residence in New Zealand. He's been around for a very long time, since the early 1990s. He's helped develop the New Zealand Police Electronic Crime Unit, and he's been responsible for the establishment of computer forensic facilities at Ernst & Young and IBM Global IT Security. He's been, like I said, he's a premier expert, been involved with a lot of high-profile technical investigations around the world. He's trained hundreds, if not thousands, of people around the world in cell phone forensics and in computer forensics. Zeke often says that he's an investigator first and an educator second, what I think he means by that is that he is always looking at things from an examiner point of view, always looking at techniques, and that he brings that to bear when he's an instructor. So I'm happy to have him online. I'm happy to have him here in the United States to talk to us, and we've corralled him for once on his travels. So with that, like I said, I'll be moderating the discussions and the questions, and I'm going to turn off my my audio and video feed so that you can see what Zeke has to show you about the shadow copy. And I'm just checking the question and answer. We have nothing at the moment. Again, we have a question and answer app up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Click on the grid, question and answer, and you can ask questions. So with that, I am so pleased to introduce the Global Lead Trainer for GetData and my good friend, Zeke Thackray.
Good morning, everybody, wherever you are in the world. First of all, I hope you can all see my monitor, because what we'd like to do today is show you some hands-on stuff with the shadow copy and Forensic Explorer. So a very good welcome to everybody from the H11 Digital Forensics Lab here in Los Angeles. So, shadow copies, what are they? What are they all about? And what do they really mean? Well, from an early stage of Windows XP, we had the introduction of snapshots, system protections for basically critical operating system files in those days. And these basically affected the ntuser.dat file and were really to bring the system back to life should it fail. Now, because it was just the NT backup which was being utilized at this stage, we could have literally over 50 plus of these little snapshots around there because they were relatively small. But with the introduction of the Windows Vista, we got a little bit more sophisticated in this this type of recovery. And we were able to concentrate not just on the Windows artifacts from a crash, but also the actual Word documents and user provided data. But of course, this has its complications. And within a forensic investigation, unfortunately, even today, as I travel the globe, we find people just don't know enough about what shadow copies is all about. What are they? What can they give us in an investigation? And it's a case of use it or lose it. And unfortunately, many people are just losing it because the tools that they're using either are a little bit too complicated to mount these shadow copies and restore them, or they just don't simply know that they exist. A lot of people would simply go into a virtual machine and rebuild the virtual machine and then restore the system files by that. But of course, that has its drawbacks because if you've not got your physical dump of that machine, or you can't rebuild that machine and can't mount it again, that gives you problems in those areas. So a lot of people just leave it and don't worry about it. Now, the other myth that people have with these is they consider the system volume shadow copy as a backup. That is completely not correct, because if we were to implement that theory and just have a series of backups, and let's say a number of backups in there, and we had a computer of 100 gigabytes in size, which is relatively small these days, then you would need a backup of 100 gigabytes. And if you've got 4 backups, obviously that's quadrupled. Or is it by 4? One has to ask oneself. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. So it's not just a backup. How this backup or this snapshot in time works, it works with blocks of data. And if a block of data from a file has changed, it will take a snapshot of that block and it will keep it in the volume system file. It will store it. And when it's required, i.e. when we go back in time to that particular area when it's created, or the shadow copy has been created, it will just replace that block of data into the file that's there, hence giving us a previous version of it. Now, how is all this done? Well, to understand that, we've got to look at our operating system in itself. So what we've done on here, we've got Forensic Explorer running. The reason why I use this is because it's extremely simplistic to use, and it is being currently used globally now around the world. In fact, only recent times it was used in the Middle East and in anti-terrorism events, where we're using it not just for computers but also for mobile phones, and also in Asia, and currently in operations down in Latin America, in Mexico. So it's been used quite extensively. So it's very simple to use. It runs on very basic computers. You don't need the resources of grunty hardware. In fact, you can get away with an i5 and 8 gig of RAM to run this on. So it's very simplistic how it runs. So this is the interface that we've got, and we've added a piece of evidence here. Now, we're presuming that the people who are online here know and understand computer forensics and the concepts of making a digital hard copy of a forensic image of a computer. And that's what we've got here. We've got a Dell laptop actually that we've gathered. We've added it to here. And then the modular-based interface, we've got file system module. And in the file system module, you'll see that we're broken down into simplistic views. We've got a left-hand tree structure with branch plating and check marking for different areas. And we've also got some filtering going on, and we've got categories lists, but we're going to stick with this view here. On the right-hand side, we've got the actual view where the files come into play. And on the top of this file system view, we've got what we call buttons. These are actually individual scripts. One can consider these as find the all evidence button. And the ones that we're particularly interested in, so we understand the operating system, i.e. this particular computer, this hard drive that I'm analyzing forensically here. The first thing that I'm going to look for is this live boot, because what I want to do is I'm going to show you the shadow volume copies inside this particular hard drive as the user would sit at the computer and see it. So what we have here is live boot. By selecting this, it opens up this virtual machine access window. And inside here, a couple of things that we've got to consider before we actually use this virtual machine is in settings, we've got two elements installed. The first one is the VMware player or VMware workstation. Then we've got Mount Image Pro 6. This is Mount Image Pro, which many of you will know from GetData. And Mount Image Pro version 6 actually comes licensed with Forensic Explorer. It's part of the package. So that's all included. So we've got those two installed. Now, going through this live boot session, we have got automatically, because we've just got one piece of evidence added here, it's found the Dell laptop. And it's automatically told me this is a Windows 7 home premiere system. Yep. So it's already got us that installed. And you'll see that we can add additional evidence files here. This, for example, may include that if we're looking at an accountant's computer, which is remote to the main office, and the database files that they're using in a proprietary software are stored on the server, we can take those separately and we can add them inside here, or an external thumb drive, for example. So we can add simple things there. If the computer has got an administrator password or user passwords, we can use products such as Offcrack and add the boot ISO here. And you'll see here we've got the last shutdown time of the system. And here at the very bottom, we've got bypass the Windows password. So, for example, if there is a password on there and I haven't got time to break it, I just want to get into it, I can just select that and I basically then select OK. That's going to run that. Like all good cookery lessons, here's one I provided earlier. So this is that system running in the virtual machine. So inside here, we've got the suspect's desktop. So how do people create shadow copies? Well, first of all, shadow copies are created automatically by the Windows system. For example, if you have a major install of a new product, it will create a shadow copy. If you update Windows, it will create a shadow copy in the background automatically for you, beyond the user's control. Also, we can create these volume copies manually. And this is done very simply. So I'm going to go into Start, Computer, right-click on Computer, go to Properties, and now you can see inside this suspect system. And inside this system area, we go to System Protection. Now, the first thing you'll see here is on a number of occasions, we've got Restore the System Volumes, we've got Configure, and we've got Create. If I manually want to create one of these restore points, these snapshots in time, I click on here and you'll notice that the user can now give it a unique description. This is quite valuable because people, if they're creating their own backups, they will give it something unique. And therefore, this could be a potential area of evidence, as we'll see in a short while. So that's creating it manual. Configuration. This is quite important for us to understand also.
Zeke, can I interrupt for just a second?
Surely.
We have a number of people, and this got plus four people have voted this one up. This question comes from Julian. He wanted to know, does Live Boot work with OS 10 and Linux? Now, I'm presuming that and forgive me for assuming, but I'm assuming that Julian might mean, does it boot a Linux or OS?
Linux or Macintosh.
Or Macintosh image? Will it do that? What live
At
boot?
the moment in time, it supports the Windows platform. At this moment in time, it supports Windows platform.
So it can only live boot a Windows image.
At this moment in time, absolutely yes.
Okay. I hope that answers your question, Julian, and the four people that move that up. If you want a follow-up question, just ask it in the Q&A app, and we'll address that actually at the end of that. And please do vote them up if you need you are interested in that. So, Julian, if that answered it, great. If not, ask a follow-up question in the Q&A app. Okay, Zeke, I'll let you off the hook.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, so what we've got in here, the configuration. Now, this can be between 1 and 8% depending on the operating system, but this is the available space that it's going to resolve to those shadow volume copies. So if you're looking for long-term historic data, this is probably not going to be where it's going to be stored in the shadow copy. The other thing is as well, the shadow volume copy is stored locally on the hard drive of the suspect system, the user system. So therefore, if you have a system crash, format the drive, well, I say format in loose terms, but wipe the drive certainly and kill the drive, then those shadow copies are long going to be gone. So in those circumstances, they're not necessarily going to hang about. But this is the area where it's going to allocate what space is going to be put to it. Now, the way this works, again, is it doesn't first in, first out. What happens here, it's looking at what the volume is required at this time, and it will use the resources available within this percentage area. So if you've got 4 copies of previously made available, but this now version has increased dramatically and it requires all that area, then those other copies will go. The new copy will stay. So you'll lose 4, you only get 1, and it'll use the resources accordingly. So I'm just going to cancel out of here. So system restore then, well, let's have a look at what this does. We click on system restore, and this is now going to restore a previous version that's been included. And let's have a look at this, clicking on next, and you'll see now that we've got a combination here of system created backups, or sorry, system created snapshots and user created snapshots. And it's very clear when I select all of these now, critical updates, manual update, critical update, and the difference between the two. Now, again, with software updates, we could even get a new program has been put in here, but then it's been deleted by a previous version of activity on the system. And we'll see that when we go back into the Forensic Explorer. So this is where all the activities taking place. Notice these unique names. They could be quite valuable as a piece of evidence. So that's what Windows is doing inside here. So I'm going to cancel all down here and inside there. Now, if I go to Windows Explorer in here, in this virtual machine, and go down to the C drive, you'll see, first of all, that there is no system files being displayed. This is reason being is because most users don't want to show all those files. So I'm going to go in and switch all those on my system file here. So all the hidden stuff, I'm going to apply and click on OK. And now you will see what appears in the root here is system volume information. And if I click on there, you'll see virtually diddly squat. Yep, which means nada. So this is the user system. This is running virtual machine of the same computer. Let's go and have a look at this in a forensic profession now. So we've loaded our evidence inside here back to Forensic Explorer. And now you will see on the left-hand side, we have our data views. If I branch plate all this, we'll now see that we've got data appearing in the top right pane. If I use the plus mark, go down, you'll now see the system volume. This is the one we were previously looking at. And now we'll see inside this area, so I've branch played just this area, you will now see that we've got a whole load of stuff appearing, yeah, inside here. Yeah, all the files inside here. So how can we make this more simpler for a user? Because this is all it. It's all gobbledygook. I've just come out of college. I've heard about shadow copies. I've had 20 minutes looking around here, and it still means nothing to me. So we can take it a step further in Forensic Explorer by using the filters option. Drop down on the filters. We go to shadow copy files. We now select all, branch play everything, and now you can see as we go inside here, we can start looking at what we've got in here. And if I go to the metadata view, we're starting to pull out some things in the metadata. Yeah. So as we go down here, we can start seeing here's some deleted stuff. We can start interpreting these from a technical perspective. Yeah. What else can we do then? Let's just close this down. The other thing that I can do within Forensic Explorer, because you don't only just get Mount Image Pro, you don't get the virtual machine capability, but we also get data carving capability. And so we can start looking down here for these truly deleted volume, catalog, store, and volume store information. This is valuable because it's going to give us unique names inside here, and we can start carving for those. So I'm going to carve for these at a basic level, sector level. I can carve at byte level or cluster block level if I so desire, but I'm going to use the defaults and just for these at the moment. Click on OK, and now that's going to start carving away. On this particular piece of evidence, if I start looking at these, you'll see it's starting to pick them up. It'll take approximately about 3 minutes or so. Now, looking at this, the VSS store information. Look what we've got down here. We've got Windows Update. There we've got a Windows Update. If I go further down, let me just move this plate up a little bit. Another Windows Update. Then we've got Last Chance to Say Goodbye. Windows Update, 13th of June. My Safe Retreat, Windows Update. Installed Microsoft Office. Valuable. Windows Update, installed Microsoft Office, and so forth. Let's just refresh this because we've got a few more coming in there. And again, going down. Installed Eraser. Now, I'm sure you don't have to be a brain surgeon to work this out. Remember when we looked at this within our virtual machine, there was no restore point which was called installed eraser. Eraser, wiping tool. This could be the valuable piece of information that says, hey, they were using wiping tools on this particular computer, and this has been carved out of the unallocated space on this particular computer. So again, we're picking up basic stuff here from these volume shadow copies by just using filters, carving, but it's still complicated. I'm sorry, I'm just a point and click dude. I want the all evidence button. How can I see the differences between various versions of documents? Well, we've now got to go to the next button in the line, which is Shadow Mount. And let's click on this Shadow Mount for the time being. This is now going to go through and pass out what volumes it can find and see where they are actually coming from. Yeah. And as you'll see in this window here, we can now see quite extensively a similar view to what we saw in the virtual machine when we looked at his system live, so to speak. And we've now recovered these particular snapshots in time. Yep, these particular snapshots in time. And you'll see from where we're looking at now, we've got a couple of options what we can do. We can actually show all the files. That basically what it's going to do in Forensic Explorer. It's going to take what it knows, i.e. the current view that we're looking at, i.e. down here. It's going to take that view, and these blocks of information, these pieces of changes, it's going to apply those differences to the actual file, and it's going to mount them as a separate partition. So doing all files there may be reasons why you want to do that, but from a forensic perspective, the majority of us, we want to know what has changed. I don't care if it's not changed, because I can see no changes here. What I want to see is the files that have definitely changed. So I'm going to select this option, only files that are different. And what I'm going to do also is I'm going to use a color. Green is the default color. I personally don't like to use red because it implies it might be deleted, and these are not deleted. These are still there. These are snapshots in time. So I'm going to use green on this occasion and use that default color. I'm going to select the 8th, item number 8, 12th of June, Thursday the 11th of June 15, with that unique GUID, and click on OK. Now what's happening is we've got a processing window, and it is in the background. It is reading the shadow volume. Now that happens relatively quick. And as you can see, it happens relatively quick because here we've got already highlighted down here another partition. It's a copy of this partition here, and it's got a little shadow man on the icon. Now what it's doing, which takes a little bit longer in time, is it's looking now for differences between the files that it's found in this partition, taken on this date, to this partition, which is the current partition, the current area that we're examining. So once it's done that, then we'll get availability to the information within the partition. And that should take approximately about 3 to 4 minutes, depending on the size of the partition. Now, one thing to consider, when we have done this shadow mount, when I've got the shadow mount running, when it starts rebuilding this, it could end up with a partition. So if I'm going to add another one of these in here with a different color, that is okay, not a problem, it will handle it. But each time you add, you are increasing the size of that partition. And if that's a terabyte partition, you're increasing another partition of a terabyte. This second snapshot of it, and then a third snapshot of it. So these could get quite heavily populated, and it could get reasonably unmanageable if you want to look at all these. Now, to look at these, they're not incremental. So what I'm saying is that what we've got here in last chance is going to show a different interpretation to what is here in the 11th of June. And we could have different versions of documents created, particularly in fraud cases, or particularly when people are creating morphed images or doing steganography. You could have clear pictures here, steganography copies here, and then clear copies here with the steganography program removed. So you've got to look at these different snapshots in time because you get a different interpretation. So I'm going to cancel that, because what's happened now, we have now got this snapshot. And here you can see, added to Forensic Explorer file list view, you've got the different changes, and all these files down here have changed. Now, this is quite interesting because if a file has been deleted, there will be a change in the master file table, but the file itself will be recorded in the unallocated space, or potentially in the unallocated space. When I go back to a snapshot and the master file table has been updated with the new block of information from a previous created snapshot, then that's when it might come back into position. Plus, if we're moving files around, they might have the same MD5 hash, but on one location, i.e. our normal location here, it appears where it should be, and then in the snapshot it appeared in another location, such as a thumb drive, such as a CD, etc., etc. So you do get significant things moving around. And the other thing where you get a lot of changes is solid state drives. Things are moving around all the time, making things manage. Defrag, that will affect where things are, because although the file has not changed location, the management of the place it is stored may have been managed. So it'll appear like it's been a changed file. So it's actually a false positive in some sense, using defrag and such tools like that. So, as I said to you, here we want to see the changes. So the easiest way to see the changes, I'm going to branch plate everything. There's branch plate everything. And I'm going to utilize now the file sorting. So I'm sorting by file name, and now you will see that what has happened here, files with same names will appear here and in the snapshot. It's telling us the changes there. But as I said, the whole point of this is to search for evidence, search for the things that have literally taken place that are important to us. Now, the other thing that is not going to happen at this point is some files don't appear in the snapshot, and that is controlled by the registry. So before we go and have a look at the documents or anything like that, let's have a look backing our system file. This is our virtual machine, and let's go and have a look at the registry file inside here that controls what is and what is not actually included, because this can be manipulated by advanced users. So I'm going to go to start, and as we say to everybody, never go here on your own system. Reg edit. So we're going to go in here. Are you sure you want to do? Yes, I am sure. And inside here, we're going to go to the local machine, into the system, into the current control set, into the control. And let me just open this up for you a little bit further and move this out. And inside the registry in here, you'll see we've got this hive, or in this hive, in this key, we have got backup restore. And it's telling me now files not to back up. So inside here it says do not back up, wipe, do not back up, mount manage, do not back up, all these different types of files inside here. Files not to snapshot, OST. Why OST? Because emails are changing constantly inside here, so therefore it makes it unmanageable, because it'd be doing backups all the time, and it would just be unmanageable. So you've got files not to snapshot, files not to restore, pending rename, transactions, so forth and so forth. So this is what's controlling what we actually can and cannot get, and this can be manipulated by advanced users. So we'll just move that out of the way for the time being and come back to see what interesting files that we've got in here. So inside here, first of all, I want to look for any documents, any spreadsheets, or any text files. Just going to keep it very, very simplistic. So in the top filter here, I can go in here and I can filter by DOC, doc. So now it's showing me all the document files inside here. Yep, like so. Yep, and it's telling me now that if I go down here, I can look at all these files one at a time, what I want to see. And here we've got actually a document file, which is actually a picture. Yeah, and if I go to display, there you see it's actually a picture, but that has actually been typically moved by not by renaming it, because it's still the same. We've done a file signature. It's told us it's a document, it's a picture. But what happens is it's been moved on the sector level because of the defragment. So yeah, interesting, but not so great. If I know the name of a document, which I do, obviously, I can go and show you a typical example of what we've got. We've got the two files here, and in this one, we've got my diary, February the 14th. The last week in the office has been very, very quiet, nothing much has happened. Here we've got what the user is seeing. This is when you turn your virtual machine on, that's what you see. When I would go to the virtual machine or go into my computer and right click and restore this in the virtual machine or in your actual computer, this is the version that you would come back with. So the last week in the office has been very quiet. Nothing much has happened. Forgot, did expect. We are laundering, LMAO. Yep. Now, as I said to you, there's more than this that I want to show. So what I can do in this area, this filter, I said I want to search and filter by not just documents. So I'm going to use a regular expression down here, regular expression, and I'm going to use the pipe, and I'm going to put in XLS, and I'm going to use the pipe again, and I'm going to type in TXT. And what is happening now, it is showing me all the documents, all the spreadsheets, all the text files. Yeah. And now I can go down, I can look at the various files inside here that I've got an interest in and simply review them. If I know the names of the files, which I do because I'm making this a little bit simpler for you, I can type in here accounts, if I can spell right. And there you see you've got all the accounts. And the top one, when I go to the display view down at the bottom, here is what the user sees. Here we've got the accounts package. Yes, we run at no profit, nada profit. But the true interpretation is, yes, we've made quite a lot of profit for the boys. Yeah. If I go down to another file. So there we've got a document here. Inside here, we've got a picture. And Mary, get one of these. That's what we currently see. But the get one of these wasn't included in the first version. So it's the reverse of what we've just seen. Yeah, and so forth. Mr. Again, the same thing here. We've got what the user sees. We've got a corrupt picture or something going on here. But when we go to the previous version, we get the true interpretation for of what is actually there. And quite common when you are looking at these sort of things for, let's say, fraudulent documents. All done, that's what you see. This is what we actually see in the previous version. So it's very simplistic. Now, if I wanted to see, as I said, this is not incremental. This one, this virtual, this shadow copy that we're looking at the moment is from one snapshot that exists inside here. I'm going to contract all and just expand to show you. That is just this version here, 12th of June. And as you saw, when we went into the shadow mount software, it actually showed us that there were many, many more versions, some created by a user, others created by the system. Yeah. And as we also saw in just recap, that this is what we can play with. But if we do a little bit more analysis in the data carving, let's get rid of all the filters here, we're actually we can actually, in the data carving area, we can actually see down here when we go to the file metadata that we have got different entities taking place and different snapshots that have possibly been on this system that have been carved back. And one of these was the erased example, new hardware install. So again, it's telling us a little bit more about the actual suspect computer, how it was used and potentially involved or excluded from a case. So that brings us swiftly to the conclusion of just showing you how shadow copies are handled, a little bit of information about what they are, where they come from, how they're managed within the Windows environment, and utilizing within Forensic Explorer the automated find all buttons, find all evidence buttons, data carving, and also the live boot, the virtual machine, how we can interrogate this particular area of investigation and get quality evidence at a simple click of the button. Some people out there have actually purchased this product purely just to do the shadow mount functionality because it's simple, and they'll probably do forensics on a computer once a month. They won't be forensics people. They just want to get into it and just find me basic stuff. So if anybody's got any questions, we can go forward and answer a few questions. I'm always a big hater of webinars that go on forever and ever and ever. And yeah, I like to be short, fast, sweet, to the point, and move on with our days. We're all busy people.
All right. Well, thank you, Zeke. I don't know what happened. Oh, there they are. They disappeared for a moment. We do have a few questions. So I'm going to, as soon as they reappear, there they are. We have a number of people that were, this was first put forward by Jason. Number of people that are interested. They're asking, when is it looking for, and when is Forensic Explorer looking for differences in files? Does it use a hash comparison or a byte by byte comparison of the files?
Well, there's a couple of things that are going on in here. That Forensic Explorer does do hash analysis independently and file signature analysis. Where the shadow copy is coming different, the shadow copy is looking at a place where the file was. So it's this block of information. And if, let's say, you change a sentence in a document, that one sentence, that block of information is stored in the shadow copy. Now, typically, if you don't touch your computer, you will get a shadow copy every 24 hours. It'll create one, whether you like it or not. Just leave it on, it's going to create it. So it's looking for any differences that's taken at that time. And it's the block of information it's comparing and the location where that file is. So if the file's moved, then it's looking at that. So it's utilizing the master file record and also the blocks of information. That's what it's looking at.
Okay. So that's what the shadow file copy is looking. So what you're saying is that it's not a complete backup of the file system. It's just any changes to the files. So
any changes to those blocks of information. Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's fragmented. It's not saving the entire file because otherwise you'd have 100 gigabytes of storage and it would just get unmanageable. So if only one file's changed or if there's major changes changed, that's what is taking those snapshots, and it's the blocks of changes, not the entire file.
Okay. All right. If that answers your question, Jason, I'm going to click this done. If not, you can ask a follow-up question. So the next one that's risen to the top here, this is actually a continuation. He actually pressed, this is Mark, he pressed send too quickly. He says, once a set of evidence files are brought into Forensic Explorer, is there a pre-processing action or are there shadow copies available to view right off the bat? And I think this is similar to another question asked by, no, that's actually a slightly different question. So anyway, they're asking, is there a pre-processing action or shadow copies available right off the bat on intake of the file into Forensic Explorer?
No, well, if I can show you actually what happens, if we go back to my screen and I'll take you back to the evidence module. Can everybody see this? Is that available? Mike?
Yeah, that's available. So
okay. So I'll go back to here. If I want to add a piece of evidence, I'll just add something here. I'm just going to add the same file just for argument's sake and open. You get this processing window. And inside this processing window, there's quite a number of things I can set running straight off the off-bat to add this piece of evidence. For example, I can add the verification of the device hash. That is the computer itself. Obviously, it's going to look for the master boot record and it's going to look for the file system. Signature analysis. I can do the signature analysis right off the file bat, looking at the file signature against the file extension. So I can do that off the bat. Expand compound files. I can expand compound files straight off the bat. I can now go down to triage. This triage is very useful because what this triage does, it is going to mount the registry files and it is going to make them available and give you a report. And I'll show you that in a short time. So you can do that processing straight off the bat. Hashing a file, I can look for duplicates and hash files straight off the bat. So no problems there. And I can extract all the metadata straight off the bat. So I can do all that sort of stuff. And also I can do the file carving. I can do that straight off the bat. So now I go down to the Windows elements, and then I've got looking for these volume shadow copies. So there's quite a lot of things that you can do straight off the bat. I'll just get rid of that now because we've already got it. And as I said, the triage, what we were looking at there, the registry files, it's mounted these registry files inside here. So I could go and look at the same area as I did over here with regedit. I can go in and look at that if I so desire. There's my regedit in the VM machine. Or I can go to my bookmarks, and down in the bookmarks here, you'll see I've got the registry files and it's pulled it out. That actually translates it into a report. And this report, if we just click on here, there's my report to generate a report. And inside here, we've got all basic information which we would want from a computer. And let's go to registry times, like time information of this computer, what it was set at the time it was acquired, and so forth, what the USB storages are, what stored was inside there, and so forth and so forth. So there's a lot of things you can do off the bat. As far as it goes to the shadow copies, that is something that we could add if people want that. But the problem is, if you add every single file from a shadow copy, then, as I've explained earlier, it's going to be potentially a massive piece of information. If this was a terabyte hard drive, these shadow copies could all be a terabyte in size when they have rebuilt the partition. Therefore, if you've got a small computer, not enough resources, it's going to clog it down. Yeah. So mounting all these simultaneously, and for you, Mike, that's all at the same time. If you mount them all at the same time, you can actually clog up your system. So it's not advisable to do that, to be quite honest, unless you've got a supercomputer. So doing it right at the front end is not good. Another reason is you might be looking for something like install, as we found down here on that carved one, installed eraser, installed steganography. I want to go to when that was installed and what they were doing at that point. So all these others, these Windows updates, are no use to me. I don't want to mount those. I want to go to that specific area. So that's another reason why you wouldn't want to do it at the front end. But it is possible. It is possible. It can be included, but it's not practical.
All right. Thank you, John. Mark, hope that answers your question. It's going to go to the next one. This is asked by Julian, and a few people have indicated they were interested in it. He asks, can deleted VSCs be mounted?
Not at this stage, no. And as you'll see in this volume storage information, let's go to these and look at these in text. There is an enormous amount of information and intelligence in here of things that have been installed into the computer. What was installed at that time in these stores. We get a whole load of stuff inside these, and at the moment we're doing some we're writing some scripts down in Australia to actually carve this out further. So when we go to the file metadata file in here, rather than unknown, what we're going to be doing inside here is carving this information out into a simplistic report similar to this. So it shows you what was installed at the time and so forth. But at the moment, it will, Forensic Explorer is going to mount the volume shadows that it can identify in the actual running system.
All right. Thank you. Just as an aside to everyone, Zeke did mention that they're writing some scripts. Forensic Explorer is scriptable. It's currently using the Pascal script. language, and it's fully customizable. In other words, some of those tabs and things that Zeke was showing you, you can modify the way that looks to customize it the way you want. You can write your own script. There are a number of examples in the product itself, and write your own scripts should they, to do some of that functionality that you're talking about.
And just as an
correct,
example,
correct.
Sorry, Mike. Just as an example, I'm showing the scripts in the analysis programs. These are additional scripts inside here. And just to give you a flavor, when I'm doing child porn cases or assisting with officers looking for digital media, such as was an iPhone on there, we've got this script, and I'll run that in the background while we're taking questions. And that comes up. Bookmark cameras by make and model. It's a simple one. It does it pretty fast on this particular computer. So we'll see what it pulls out at this time while it's running in the background.
Okay, very good. So this question comes from George. He asks, and a couple of people were interested too, he says, Effects appears to dynamically mount the VSC as instructed. Does it maintain this mount if the case is closed and reopened?
Yes, it does. As providing you save the case, it will bring it back when you open up your case.
Okay. And here's something too, as an aside, FEX does not automatically save cases. You need to save the case periodically.
Yeah.
He further asks, can bookmarks be made of files found within the VSCs? And does the bookmark contain the info about the VSC itself?
Anything can be bookmarked. Once you've mounted it, anything can be bookmarked. So if you've got anything inside here, which is in the obviously the VSS, the volume shadow, you simply right click, add to bookmark, make it, put it wherever you want, create a bookmark of it, and then in the bookmark module, it will be available to you. In the report module, when we go to the edit, again, it will be available for us to include into a report.
All right, very good. Thank you, George.
And just incidentally, going back to that, that was that script that run. Here's all the pictures, all the cameras, all the iOS devices that have been found inside here. So if I go to these, I can actually see that we've got marijuana there from that picture and some pictures here like so. Yeah. So again, that's the scripts are very customizable to anything you so desire. Scripts affect carving information out and bookmarking it, or actually filtering information out and making it easier to look at. So to follow up on that previous question.
All right, fantastic. Ken asked, and a couple people also asked the same thing. They have said, Sarah, the audio dropped for a second. Scripts can be written in what language? And he says, it almost sounded like Pascal. Shockingly, yes, it is Pascal. It's back from the dead, Blaise Pascal. However, a lot of programs still on the internet are written using Delphi. The Delphi build that's written in Pascal. There is a open source project out there called Lazarus that's alive and well, and a lot of people are still using Pascal. So currently, yes, it's using the Pascal scripting language, which is fairly easy to learn. Would you agree on that, Zeke?
Yeah, and if you want to look at the scripts, if we go into this script, everything's controlled throughout the program, and you can manipulate this to look at anything you so desire. This startup script is telling me basically where things are going to work, what things are going to be included in the file system module. And for example, here we've got in here, I'm going to now take this out and I'm going to put in a web links inside here. So I'm going to simply run that. Off it goes to the file system module, and there you've got your web links. So you can put anything in there. You can create this, manipulate this to anything you want. And again, I can even create my own references if I want. Add reference library. There's, I've got the reference library, and I can create my own. So add a reference. So out comes this little GUI interface. You add in there your notes or whatever you. So because everybody investigates digital evidence separately, you know. So I've actually got one of these when we use it with the JTAG classes, that I've got references out on the internet for research. When I'm looking for pinouts, I'll have a reference there for JTAG points, gesture key converter, decoder, and I'll have things like that that are online resources that I use extensively. So you can customize this to anything you so desire. Limitations, your imagination.
And that brings up a good point too, about customization. You can use this in mobile forensic cases. There is support for the Android file system, and I know that you, Zeke, have extensively customized Forensic Explorer to use with mobile for forensic cases. And the back end for some of the data carving relates back to Phone Image Carver from GetData, and it carves for a lot of different artifacts, sector by sector, which is what you normally find on flash file systems, correct?
Yep. Yep.
All right. We're beginning to run out of time. I don't want to run too long, but I do want to get to these questions and then get to the giveaways and the special bonus at the end. So we'll try to get through these questions. There's only a couple more. And this one also comes from Mark. Once a set of evidence files are brought into Forensic Explorer, there's yeah, I already answered that. This one comes from, you know, I'm going to try to pronounce your name. It's Greek, and I hope I don't mess it up. It's, I think, Petru. He says, if I found something interesting in a VSC that I have mounted and bookmarked, will it, if I unmount the VSC to mount another, will in the bookmark to create the report, will I have to change the original file from the first VSC? I'm not sure I quite understand that question.
So basically, what I think I basically think what that question is, if I bookmark something here, yeah, and I've got something bookmarked, whatever it is, and then I go right click and remove that, that's going to remove the link to where the bookmark is. Yeah. So the better way to do it is to actually take a snapshot of that and create that bookmark. So if you're bookmarking anything here and then take away the source area where it's going to come from, then it's got nowhere to look at where that bookmark is again. So it's going to put a copy of it into here, so, and be available. So just to show you that, let's just go and just prove this because we're at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to go to, because we know that that file's there. This is the one inside of the file. Right click, contract all. So I'm getting both copies. Right click, and I want 2 columns. Column settings. I'm just going to put this back in. So there we go. I'm just bringing this back over. Okay. So right. So now we go back to the diary. I've got the 2 files. This is the one that's originally inside the system. This is the shadow copy. I'm going to right click. I'm going to create a bookmark here, and I'm just going to put it into documents, interesting, and click on OK. And now when I go back out here, let's just make sure it's inside there, documents, there it is, there's our thing. Now I'm going to go contract all, get rid of that shadow mount, right click here, remove this. Now it's going to remove this shadow mount. It's just taking a little bit of time to do that. Let's see what happens inside here.
Well, while we're waiting for that, I'm going to take care of
Yep.
we do have the links to a lot of these software in the showcase. If you look in there, we have that. George, I've been experiencing a little bit of up and down. Probably they're backing up the internet, or somebody's overused their bandwidth on the internet. Who knows? It's probably just the up and down of the internet. And one of the last questions Rob asked, is the preview button new with this particular build? The preview button.
The preview button?
Yeah.
Oh, the preview button. It's in all builds, and to activate it, you go to Options and Show Preview Button. I have it clicked on by default. I love it. I use it all the time. Save. Now it goes. To activate it, drop down menu, Options, show that, and save. And there you go. So
Okay.
it comes back. And in the bookmarks, there you'll see, here is the bookmark that we've created. It's created it in the bookmarks. It's still available to us. And there's the file path where it actually came from. But when we go back to our file system, hey, the volume shadow has been removed.
All right. I think we've gone through. Yeah, I think we've gone through all the questions. So now let's get to the giveaway portion of the thing. And so for everybody who registered on the website, I've got your registrations all in front of me in a list, and I've used a random number generator to generate a random number that corresponds to your particular row in the list that I have. And this first giveaway is going to be for a free seat for Forensic Explorer training. That's not including the software. It's just a free seat for the training. That is for any of our Forensic Explorer classes that we have in any of our 5 locations across the United States. And it does not expire, so you can use it whenever it's convenient for you. So the first winner of a free seat, which is a $24.95 value, for a free seat to Forensic Explorer training, and that goes to Zachary. I'm not going to give your full email address, but it's zgreenwood85 is the name. And I will be sending follow-up emails for that. So congratulations to Zachary for winning the free seat to Forensic Explorer training at one of our 5 Wild PCS Mobile Forensics locations. The next drawing we're going to have, and correct me or confirm this for me, Zeke, you have a free year copy of Forensic Explorer that you're going to be giving out. Is that correct?
That's correct. Australia confirmed that this morning. They're going to give a 12-month dongle version of the product out to a lucky winner.
All right. And that particular lucky winner is maybe
Zeke Thackray.
Zeke Thackray.
No, it's not.
That number, hold on a second, I gotta generate it. Zeke Thackray is, hold on, gotta scroll up this list. Is a gentleman by the name of, I don't know if this is your real name or not, but it's Albert, and it's PIALFG is the email address. So that is the winner of the Forensic Explorer copy. And again, I'm going to be sending out confirmation emails. Should that person not respond that with the address and everything to send to me, I will be choosing another name from the list. So you might still be in the running for a free copy. And the retail value of that is what, $12.95? Isn't that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yes, okay. All right. So that, and we did promise a special bonus at the end, and GetData was generous enough to offer this to people who stuck around to the end of listening to Zeke talk. And by the way, I think you kind of sort of sound like Dobby from Harry Potter, isn't that? Are you related to the house elf by any chance?
Well, at least I don't look like a hobbit like you.
Oh, I look like a hobbit, huh? Say Harry Potter for me.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, say you are Dobby. You are Dobby. So right at the screen here, GetData has generously offered a 25% discount for the next 72 hours on Forensic Explorer. That puts it at around $999, something like that, dollars. That's until June 22nd at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So that gives people on the West Coast a lot of time to be able to do that. Now you have two ways you can visit. You can get that discount. You can go to the link of the above, www.wildpcsmobileforensics.com/FEX. That's all in caps. Or you can actually go to forensicexplorer.com to their purchase page and enter the code LDW1. Again, that's code LDW1. It's 25% off until 11:59 p.m., 1 minute to midnight on June 22nd. That may be a little flexible. We might move it a little bit into Tuesday, but it gives you plenty of time to sort out some payment. And I for one, think it's very generous of them to offer that. We'll leave that up on the screen here while I finish up. Thank you, Zeke, for giving this presentation. I know I got a lot of it. I hope everybody got a lot out of it too. Again, the Showcase app is up there if you want to take a look at some of the links that we have. The next event that we're going to have is going to be in July. Sometime. I'm thinking about the end of July. We'll have another guest speaker, so look for an announcement there. I also, because GetData was so generous in giving a 25% discount to all of you, all of the people that have taken the valuable time out of their day, I've decided that on behalf of Wild PCS Mobile Forensics that we're going to give a sister discount to the Forensic Explorer discount, and we're going to give 5% off on all of our Forensic Explorer classes right now. And I'm going to run that from right now, today, until Friday next week. So that will run from now until Friday of next week. That's 5% off. That's about $162 off the training and software bundle. And about $100 off the other bundle. It's for both of our classes. So if you go to wildpcsmobileforensics.com and select on courses, the FEX certification that's also in the Showcase links, I'm giving you 5% off on that. And again, the 25% off, either go to forensicexplorer.com or wildpcsmobileforensics.com/FEX. Remember to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter. And again, I am so grateful that everybody took time out of their day. I know we ran over a little bit. Again, thank you very much, Zeke, and congratulations to the lucky winners. We will be sending out a confirmation email to each of you after the broadcast. So with that, thank you on behalf of everybody at Wild PCS Mobile Forensics. All of our team there. Thank you to Zeke, and thank you to the guys at GetData. Take care and have a great weekend. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers.